Welcome back to Style of Play Football with myself, Theo. Basil, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Can't complain. My team got the well needed 3 points. Top four looks like we're securing top four.
We're 10 seconds into it. We're going there already. But yeah, we're gonna get onto that. We are gonna get onto that. I tried to avoid doing this. I see you was first in the chat yesterday, like we podding today. I was like, I generally couldn't, but yeah, man, I've been trying to avoid talking Chelsea. But anyone that's new here on the channel, if you're a new subscriber, we appreciate you. If you're not a returning subscriber, you haven't subscribed, make sure you smash the subscribe button and all of that good stuff as well. Let's start with Arsenal versus Chelsea.
Mm.
I'm gonna let you go first. You won, but difficult game from a Chelsea perspective because yeah, there's no pluses in there. There's nothing good to talk about from a Chelsea point of view. But what from Arsenal as an Arsenal fan did you take from that in terms of hopefully pushing on next season? There were good signs from Arsenal, I think, to see that they even without a striker, you can still play well.
It's weird because I think it was more Chelsea more than Arsenal because I don't think Arsenal did anything spectacular. I think
Mm,
we created chances by some of your defensive frailties,
yeah.
and we control the game as we usually do possession wise. I think it's more Chelsea just didn't turn up.
Mm,
Chelsea, for me, that was the thing. Chelsea just didn't turn up. I think your team still look very disjointed, which is a strange thing to be saying at this point of the season. Because there was a period in the season where I thought, Chelsea was coming together in terms of style of play and obviously the players understand each other. And it feels like that's been lost over the last few games again. And I think it was more in Chelsea because we created chances from your mistakes. We didn't really, it wasn't the greatest of games, but then Chelsea just didn't really penetrate us, really
mm,
and truly. There was one or two
true.
chances here and there, but Chelsea didn't cause us any real problems. And I think Arsenal kind of just said, let's control the game and just be comfortable and walk away with the 3 points. So I think the onus was more on Chelsea not playing well rather than Arsenal being overly spectacular. Because if you compare it to last season where Arsenal won, I think was it 5-0 if I
Five
remember?
5-0.
Yeah, 5-0. That was Arsenal playing well.
Mhm.
That was
Yeah.
Arsenal kind of destroying Chelsea playing well. This result was a different result in terms of we kind of scored an early goal and obviously you kind of just controlled the game after. I
Mm,
think I think both teams needed a victory. It's one of those games coming into it. Both teams needed a victory. Chelsea to make sure that they can try and secure top four because it's very tight there. And Arsenal to make sure that the other teams don't catch a sniff of them and kind of see them as prey because obviously the
mm.
points gap would have been reduced.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a tough one to take. I agree with you. I don't think neither team played really, really well, but you always felt with Arsenal there was an opportunity to score a goal. I
Yeah,
can't
I
say the
agree.
same about Chelsea. I can't say that we even looked convincing in front of goal or we looked like we were gonna at some point we were taking the only time I thought actually we might get something, and it was only for like a minute in the game, was when Cucurella had his half volley saved by David Red.
Yeah,
That's the only time I thought we might get something out of the game, but it lasted for about 2 minutes, if that. Um,
yeah. I've got a question for you, Theo.
go
I
on.
guess it's more for because I'm just looking at Chelsea, right? And I'm looking at everything that they're doing in terms of what they have now player wise,
Mm.
what they're still doing player wise. My question: where did Chelsea go? Because obviously I'm looking at it as like you can hold all the amount of players you want. You still have good quality players there anyway.
Yeah.
So so the reason why I asked is because you have a lot of players there anyway. You're still buying players. I'm like, what kind of players are you trying to gel together? That's why I asked, where did Chelsea go?
I think no, it's a good question. I think that's the problem though. I don't think there is a direction. And if there is, it's really not clear, especially to the fans. And if it's not clear to the fans, I can only summarize and assume that it's not clear to the sporting directors. It's not clear to the people that are signing these players because one minute you're signing a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds, then you go and sign. Oh, sorry, let me go back. You sign Cucurella, you sign Sanchez, you sign Sterling, then you go and get a bunch of kids. And then you throw in that, you throw João Felix, you
Yeah.
throw Pedro Neto in there. It's very just really mad. There's no clear vision,
Yeah.
I think, from the club.
Because I was so confused. You're still signing players, and I was like, and I said this from the beginning when it started regime. Where are all these players? How are you going to
Where
fit in all
yeah,
these players? And the surprising thing for me is that that these players are voluntarily still signing for Chelsea,
the
even
death row
after
contracts.
which is the thing that baffles me.
I,
Because if I'm a player, I look at that. You've got so many players. I wouldn't even consider. I wouldn't even entertain joining you. Then on top, as you said, they're giving them 7, 8 year contracts, which
mm,
makes it difficult for you to move if things don't work out for you. Because Chelsea can just say, if we don't get our fee, you still remain on our books.
I don't know what the conversations are, because even like signing Quenda,
Yeah,
Giovanni Quenda recently, or he's due to sign and join us in a year and a half's time. But even I'd love to know what those conversations were with his agent, with him, to almost sell him. He was due to sign for United. He knows Ruben Amorim. He's played with him before. So to go from a manager that you know and you've played with under at Sporting to then have a conversation with Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart and whoever else at Chelsea, for them to convince you to not do that and then come and sign here, where you can already see there's other players that are going to be competing for that same position. It don't make any sense. And it can't even be like a financial thing, because the wage gap now, or the wage cap, sorry, not gap, the wage cap is more or less 150 to 160 grand a week for the players. So some of these players could go elsewhere and get more money, or just exactly the same amount of money, but be guaranteed that they're going to play every week.
it's mad because I say this because what people don't realize, because obviously what people, when it comes to players and making money off players, what people always discount is the wages, the bonuses, and all the money you play to them. You
Mm,
pay to them, because what people will see is that, oh, I've signed a player for 40 million. If I sign him in 3 years' time for 45 million, I've made a 5 million profit. That's incorrect,
mm,
because if you're paying that guy, I don't know, let's say 7.5. I don't know, if you're paying him, I don't know, £7 million in wages and bonuses altogether, you need to count in those 3 years the £21 million you spend on wages. So in the end, it's 61 million
yeah,
you're
it's
spending
massive.
on a player. So then if you sell him for 45, you've lost
Yeah,
16
yeah.
million on the player. Which is why when people say, oh yeah, you can make a profit. Like, no, you need to consider the amount of money you're paying for them during that duration, in
Mm.
wages, in bonuses, in whatever the financial package is, because that all counts as a cost. And
Yeah,
so
you're right.
then we do not understand what these owners, what your owners and what the people underneath him are
The,
generally doing.
the thing is, when they came in, they
Mm.
automatically said they like the Brighton model. That's why we went and signed half their backroom staff. Why we went and got
Yeah.
Cucurella. Why we went and got Graham Potter. I think we got, can't remember his name. Might be something Ed Bob something. The goalkeeping coach from Brighton, basically. He's at our club now, and I'm almost certain the reason why Robert Sanchez, even now, even after Sunday, will still start against Tottenham after the
Oh, yeah.
international break.
Yeah.
You can't have him in goal, but he's going to be in goal because the guy that signed him wanted him at the club. He's at the club with us. So they came out originally and said, we like the Brighton model that you bring in younger players, you sell them for a fraction of what you signed them for.
What's that done for Brighton on the pitch? That's the thing you need to look at. Of course, a small club with
They're happy
Brighton,
to do that
they
because
don't
it's
have the
mid-table.
financial power. Yeah, they don't have the financial power
Yeah,
of the big club. They have to
yeah, yeah.
operate that. You're
And
Chelsea Football Club.
oh, come on,
You
you don't
should
need to
never.
tell me.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. But for me, it's crazy because I don't really mind what they're doing. It's more the fact that you're still not targeting your problem areas. You're buying all these
Yeah,
youngsters building attacking areas. I'm like, hold on. What
there's
about
no
the
leaders.
defense? What about the goalkeeper?
There's no
It's crazy.
leaders. There's literally, we need a goal. I say it all the time on my other channel, but we need a goalkeeper. We need another centre back. We need another
Yeah.
midfielder. We need two strikers, actually, not just one. We need a striker that is going to be the striker, the week in, week out number 9. But we also need a backup to that striker, and we still need Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah.
And we're not going to address none of those things, because you can see from the model that anyone who's like 25 and over, one, they've got a bit more common sense, and they're thinking about their career. They obviously, footballers' careers don't last forever, so they're thinking, I don't want to go and sit and play second fiddle to Jackson and this person and that person. I'm going to go somewhere where I'm be playing week in, week out, and earn a bit more money. That's why Victor Osman kind of was like, well, if you want me to come, pay me X amount and I'll come, or I'm not coming. Simple. And he can do that because the ball, theoretically at his age, is in his court. It ain't in our court. So um tough one though, tough one. Free midfield, Kojo was saying, signing a lot of young players for one or two things. Hope they go crazy and they help Chelsea trophies, or they profit in 2 or 3 years. Guantanamo Bay contracts as well. You ain't leaving. It's facts. No, it's facts. It is facts. It is facts. I think that's it though. I think there are going to be one or two of these players that when we sign them, and I'll probably use Cole Palmer as the example.
Yeah.
Like, it is going to work for them, but you
Yeah.
can't. can't do that for 20 players and only one of them is brilliant for you. Like, what about the other 19? What are you going to do with them? So if we had the idea, maybe a bit like Liverpool have done, and I'm not saying they've done it correctly throughout throughout the last couple of seasons, but they know the areas that they've got to work on. And
Yeah.
I can guarantee you right now, they're probably pulling up indicative shortlist for players like Van Dijk if he leaves, Salah if he leaves, Trent if he leaves. They're going to look at those areas first because they're the priorities, whereas we're doing it backwards. We're signing like 16, 17-year-olds and going, actually, I'll drop Reece James into midfield, or actually, we've got Nicholas Jackson there. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the things that really was telling on Sunday was that obviously Reece James, I'm not going to put it down to him. He was playing in midfield and it didn't work because he was getting,
Yeah.
he got found out very quickly. Partey was able to use the space. I think Lewis Skelly done it a few times as well, where they just use the space very, very well. They draw Reece James out of his position.
Yeah.
And before you know it, the ball through the middle is easy. It's there. And it was happening time and time again. So it was telling to see that on Sunday that signing a bunch of kids is great if you've got a spine. If you haven't got a spine and you haven't got leaders in the team, it counts for nothing, because even with Arsenal not playing at their best, they can still get you on a set piece from a corner, which we know Arsenal are dangerous from. So, but I thought the game went well for Arsenal. I'll be honest. If I was a neutral,
Yeah.
I'd say I was always nervous going into it anyway. I don't think we've won there since 2021. I think was that the Lukaku season, and I think Reece James scored.
Yeah, I remember that game. I know which game you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it was like the second game of the season or something. I feel like it was quite early
Yeah,
on in the season.
it was the second game of the season. You guys, I mean, it was boys against men that day. So.
Yeah, but then you beat us 5-0. After that, what do you think about Moreno? Because he's obviously the one
Listen,
that
that experiment needs to come to an end. And
for who though? For who?
No,
For
but
who?
it just the thing of this fear. This is what I dislike, right? Because what people do is they see he scored a goal and they never look at the whole match.
I hear
Like,
you.
because apart from that goal, he did nothing all game. So my thing is that you can get lucky on a set piece if someone lands the ball in the right area and you can head it in. But my question is, well, after that, what else did you offer? Because if we didn't score from that set piece, where's the goal for Marino coming? He's absolutely, and there's no fault. Obviously, for me, I just don't think he's a good player anyway, standard, like, period. But obviously, I can give him grace because he's playing in a position that isn't his. But he looks awful as a centre. He doesn't even do the job of a basic centre forward. He's never in the right positions, doesn't make the right runs, doesn't offer us no link up or hold up play. He does nothing in that position. He kind of just floats around in no man's land in that pitch. So ultimately, what he does is he offers us nothing during in play. So when it's like if it's not set pieces, he doesn't really offer us anything.
Yeah.
When the game is flowing, what we're looking for him is more crosses and set pieces. But you can't do that strategy. For me, we cannot continue with Marino, especially if we're coming against Real Madrid. We cannot continue with Marino up front because all those defenders are going to do is push up. Those those fullbacks of Madrid are just going to push up because they're going to say we don't need to worry. There's no threat in behind.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest issue Arsenal faces. We're getting away with it because
you're playing teams like Chelsea.
we're playing honestly. So we can kind of control the game possession-wise.
Yeah,
But we're not creating chances. And I'm looking at it like you're going to go up against Madrid because the Champions League is the only thing we can look forward to, who create a host of chances in various different ways and have match winners. You have to make sure that you have a way to kind of hurt them when you want to transition on the ball. If that's the kind of game you want to play, Marino doesn't work because he doesn't make no runs. He's not a good dribbler, not good hold up play. He doesn't even position himself in the box properly for someone to lay onto him. So it hasn't worked and it's not working.
What's the alternative though? Like, because I don't know.
For me personally, I'm surprised that and this is where I don't get Arteta. I would just throw Trossard there. And
I was just about to ask that. Yeah, go on.
Trossard has played there before. So you're talking about someone who has played there and has had some success playing there in the past. So I don't understand why we don't revert back to that because Trossard at least knows what he's doing as a false nine. Marino has no clue. what he's doing as a false nine. That's the issue.
It
So
is true.
I personally don't get why we're still persisting with Marino up front, if it
Mm.
personally. And I think that definitely needs to change because there's no way we can go at
Not
Madrid,
against Madrid.
not against Madrid, with
No,
Marino as your striker. No
no.
chance.
He might
And
as
the
well
funny
not
thing,
turn up.
yeah, and ironically, I'm surprised he didn't even try Martinelli up there, only because
Exactly.
of Martinelli's
Exactly.
pace to run in behind.
Yeah, yeah. He would have caused us a lot more problems had we had someone that was a bit more of a threat in ours. Because
With Fred in behind.
that
Yeah.
defense was shocking, man. Wesley Fofana, listen, I know he's coming back from injury, although he did get racially abused after the game, which is a bit
Oh,
mental.
serious.
Yeah, on Instagram now. I don't know if it was, I'm not going to blame Arsenal fans because it could be any fans, but he put up a post and but he was just, it was almost like, it's almost like he was there for vibes. It was a weird day for him. Like he got
His
booked
career
for throwing the ball away. Like you've done all them mad tackles, you're walking a
tackles, yeah.
tightrope.
Yeah. How he
But
didn't get booked for some of those challenges.
well, the
I could
Declan
never.
Rice one, that's a stamp. That's a clear stamp. I know
Yeah.
he's trying to get the ball, but he doesn't get he's already made the foul, and then he almost just decides I'm going to try and still get the ball and stamp on your back anyway. There was another one, I think. I can't remember who involved. It might be Thomas Partey or someone like I can't remember who it was, but he was lucky. He was very, very lucky on the day. But our defense was shocking, absolutely
Yeah.
shocking.
And it's a shame because Fofana's Chelsea career has just been one of dismay,
Mm,
personally. And he came with so much promise. Like he looked very good at Leicester,
yeah,
but I think it's got to a point. You said the injuries are probably taking a toll on him,
massively,
and
massively.
he doesn't look anywhere near the prospect he looked when you first joined the club.
Mm, yeah, I agree. I think this is aimed at you. Another comment from Free Midfield. How would the lineup? Yeah,
Okay, so forward line, I would go. It depends on if Saka's back. I'd go
mm.
probably Saka,
When's he
and
due back?
then I think gonna come back. People are saying March. These people are very silly, like considering the injury.
Yeah,
I think he's back training. I think we're back April.
yeah.
That's what I think. Back April in terms of where he can play games.
Mm.
Because when you come back from surgery, yes, you may be back doing training and
You
everything, but
still
then
got to
it's
build that back up though.
conditioning. You're still conditioning yourself, which is why I
Yeah.
don't think he'll be back until April. So if it's saying Saka's back, I would go Saka and just alternate between Martinelli and Trossard, left and centre forward. That's the
Mm.
way I would go. If
Another
Saka,
option though, Sterling. I know he's not fan favorite, but
I would use Sterling, but I don't want the backlash from everyone and the Arsenal fans and everyone else because I still think Sterling's been treated unfairly,
he
and
can
I
play
think
across the whole front three. He can play
he
left,
can, yeah.
right, down the middle. He's an
Front, yeah.
option.
I think the criticism for him is unwarranted, and I always argue with my Arsenal friends about this
Yeah.
because I'm like, you can't judge a player who's never had 2 or 3 consecutive games. I don't think he's had any more than like 2 consecutive games starting,
Mm.
and I'm like, you cannot judge a guy that's barely played any minutes. And then when he looks bad when he comes on, then blame him. I was like, how's he supposed to find any rhythm whatsoever? That's on the manager rather than Sterling. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm in and out the squad and playing like 5-10 minutes here and there, not starting games, of course you're not going to find rhythm.
Where's you're
So
not going to get your consistency, are you? You're going to
you're not going
be
to get consistency.
it's
And
good
my things that I said, there's other players who play badly week in, week out.
and still start.
Trossard, and it still starts. I'm like,
Mm.
come on, like you can see that it's not right what was happening. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would. So yeah, if it was me personally, if it
Mm.
was me, let's say forgetting all the noise, I would go Sterling on the left. I still think because I think I think he's better on the left than he's on the
Mm.
right.
I agree.
I personally would go Sterling on the left, um, Saka and Wanyeri, depending if Saka's back, Saka. If Saka's not back, Wanyeri. And then I would probably go Martinelli up front and just say, Martinelli, don't come for the ball, make runs in behind, utilize your pace. Because I think Martinelli's quicker, getting past. See, that's the reason why I didn't want to say it.
I
That's
don't
the
think he's
reason why.
finished though. I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks back. I don't think he's finished. I just think he needs a run of games, not at
Same here.
Chelsea, but he needs a run of games because he's still got something to offer, whether that's week in, week out. But he's still a good player enough to come in and impact a game and
That's
so on,
how I
so on.
feel. That's
But
how I feel. But yeah, then it'll be. I would rather Martinelli because I think Martinelli has more pace to run in behind than Trossard, and
yeah,
that's the lineup. That's the lineup I would go with. And then if you're not going to start Sterling, I'll go Trossard. But I don't trust Trossard enough on the left. I think he's been quite poor this season to even want him to start that kind of game.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. Let's move on. I'm sick of talking about Chelsea. Let's move on to better things because Liverpool losing to Newcastle was not on my radar anyway. I did in a final, it can be anyone's. Anyone who wants it can get it, and that's just how it works in the finals. That's how we know it to be. But did you see that? Could you just based on
I
obviously no Anthony Gordon?
I saw it coming. And the funny thing,
Okay.
yeah, I saw it because the reason why I said that, and I speak to a Liverpool friend, I said over the last few weeks, Liverpool haven't played well. And I said, what would determine that finals? What Newcastle turn up? Because we see Newcastle where they're just not at it. But I knew because it was a cup final, Newcastle will be at it. And Newcastle cause teams problems when they're up for something. So I had a feeling that Newcastle could sneak a win. And I did actually predict that they could sneak a 2-1 win against Liverpool. But I
Mm,
wasn't expecting them to be 2-0 up. I thought maybe Liverpool may get a goal, they may equalise, or they get a goal and Liverpool equalise and they gather a late goal. But yeah, I did because I just thought Liverpool haven't been playing well for the last 4 or 5 games.
yeah.
They've been scraping victories. PSG, Southampton. There's other games I can't. Both PSG games, Southampton. There's other games where they've just been just about scraping victories here and there, and they can come to roost when a team kind of turn up. And I
Yeah.
had a feeling it wouldn't have surprised me if Liverpool won, but I had a sneaky feeling Newcastle might take that game for that reason.
Mm. It was always going to be. I mean, obviously Liverpool, no Trent. Nunes hasn't
Mm,
been the best for them this season. Gapco hasn't been the best for them. Jota, Salah's kind of been off the boil
yeah.
the last couple of weeks. So it was always there for them. It was always going to be there. And they were very lucky last time they got to Wembley not to win it or not to win the trophy. Um,
Mm,
so there was always an Isak in the team is always a danger. Like
yeah.
always. It doesn't matter how or who they're playing. Give him a chance, he's going to take it 9 times out of 10. So, but I didn't see the game. If I'm being honest, I didn't see the game going the way that it went in terms of Newcastle. At times, for me, for a majority of the time, looking a better team, looking like they actually wanted to win this trophy. And I don't know if it was
Do you
like
know?
a bit of fatigue from PSG
It,
that game.
yeah, it could be fatigue. But I'll say this one thing about Newcastle and what Newcastle are very good at, and
Yeah,
as an Arsenal supporter, I've seen it many times. They are very they're very good at making you uncomfortable with
yeah,
their physicality.
yeah,
And sometimes teams don't know what to do with Newcastle when they're that physical. Arsenal,
mm,
we've seen it many times. They disturb your rhythm with their physicality.
yeah,
And you can see it against Liverpool. They disturb their rhythm with their physicality and also with their work rate. Because
mm,
there was one I saw John Linton kind of sprint back to make a tackle and win a ball. And I was like,
yeah,
that's the kind of performance you get where it unsettles you as a team. And I
mm,
think they had that tactic to unsettle them and then obviously be more effective when they get the ball.
yeah. And I think it worked for them. I think even like the tactics from Arne Slot, like in terms of substitutions and I think I read this is the first time Salah, I can't remember for what duration, but this is the first time he's not created a chance or had a shot
Yeah.
in, I can't remember how many games. I'm going to say like 100 games, but I might be wrong. So don't quote me on the number, but it's something mad. Like he hasn't, like he was ineffective. Like
Yeah.
almost be like Jadon Sancho on Sunday in our game. I forgot he was playing. Like I forgot Mo Salah was actually on the pitch.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a good week for Salah. It just hasn't turned up in the two most important games where Liverpool needed him, um, which is a shame. And usually, I can see Koji there in the comments. Yeah, you can see like he's just been ineffective in those key
Yeah.
moments, and that's when you want your key players
Mm.
to step up and do something for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately, he was very quiet, very quiet.
Very quiet.
Because usually you don't have to score, but you can kind of make an impact, and he
Yeah.
made absolutely zero impact in those games.
I'm surprised because I feel like you need like you just said you need those sort of players to turn up even like you said even though they're not scoring a goal they still have
Mm,
to turn up and help
exactly.
create something because yeah I was just in shock I'm just looking at the substitutions now that Liverpool made so they brought on Curtis Jones for Kanate Nunes for Jota that was on the
Mm,
57-minute mark then Cody Gakpo came on for McAllister and then their final two substitutions was Chiesa who to be honest I think should have started the game and Harvey
yeah,
Elliott who came on for Luis Diaz so it just I don't know man it just didn't feel like it just
yeah,
I didn't I look at those substitutions that came on and yes Chiesa did get the goal but I wouldn't have put my confidence in none of them really to bring that game back to 2-2 or try and take it into extra time or whatever or penalties. I can't see it with those subs. Whereas you look at Newcastle, who didn't make their substitutions up until the 80th minute, and I think they've done that for that reason. If we're winning, let's not
Yeah,
change things. Let's just do as we are. They
100%.
bring they brought off Isak, who I think was it Isak that was suffering from cramp at the end of the game. Might be him. Then Harvey Barnes came off for Willock, who I was surprised didn't start the game as well. And then Emil Kraft came on for Murphy, who definitely had cramp because he's walking like a penguin at the end of the game.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, see
he
that.
had mad cramp. But those three substitutions, they're the sort of substitutions I would expect to see a game out. Like
Yeah.
I can see that. But was you surprised by anything like in terms of slots, tactics, how he set the team up?
I wasn't surprised by the team he sent out. I was surprised that the substitutions, similar to what you're saying, for you, kind of surprised me because it just seemed like it was throwing on subs with no
Yep.
real tactics, rather than okay, I'm going to throw this sub. We're going to change. Maybe you move here, you operate here. It seems like it felt a bit desperate.
Mm,
That's what it kind of felt like. Like okay, I
yeah.
just need to throw bodies there. I need to throw in attacking players, and hopefully one of you can kind of change the game and do something for me. That's what it felt like,
Mm,
and which is quite disappointing because I've rated Arne Slot as to how he's managed most of the games for most of the seasons. I think he's shown himself he can be tactically astute. He
yeah.
can kind of see a game and know what changes to make, whether that's substitution or whether that's a tactical approach. So I was a bit disappointed with the substitutions this weekend, and as I said, it kind of felt he was just throwing them on. But yeah,
It was just seeing the comment there, Kojo. My goats have not been bust in finals. Just saying. Yeah, I mean Salah. I'm assuming he's Kojo's on about Salah.
yeah, and
Um,
he's record. I think because I think they said he's only scored 2 goals, and I know one of them was a penalty against Tottenham. I can't
yeah,
remember that.
the non-penalty thing's not looking good for Salah. To be honest, it's not. It isn't looking good for him because I don't know. Isn't this like his 11th final or something where
Yeah,
he's
it's like
just
his 11th final. Yeah.
yeah. So he's
In fairness, I don't think he's even impacted in any of those. If take away the goals, I don't think he's even impacted in any of those finals.
no, no, and this is why there's like certain Liverpool fans. They're not getting onto Salah. I don't. That's probably the wrong word, but they're saying what a lot of other fans that don't support Liverpool are saying about Salah in terms of his goal involvement, his involvement period in finals. But
Yeah.
I'm noticing one thing I noticed on Sunday was just, and it's an obvious thing to as an observation, but he just looked old. Like he was like almost like no, but like he was like a yard off the pace.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Like the ball was fed through to him, and it's like he was almost like running, but in slow motion. Like it was weird watching him. Like I'm used to watching electrifying pace, and as time, obviously, you're going to slow down a little bit. But on
Yeah,
Sunday,
I'm not surprised. But at the same time, he's 33 going on
I
34.
know,
So
but he looked like he lost a lot of pace on Sunday. Then, like he just
mm,
looked tired, and maybe that's what
yeah.
I'm saying about the PSG game. Maybe that's just taking out some of those players
But
that,
might have taken a lot because you're talking about 120
yeah,
minutes.
yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah.
wasn't, and it wasn't as if. And in fairness, that PSG game, I saw Salah doing a lot of tracking back.
He
I'll say
did,
in both legs than I've seen him do in a lot of games.
yeah,
But
yeah.
generally, Salah does work hard as support, but he doesn't. I'll say those games I haven't seen it as much in a very long time.
Mm,
And obviously, in those games they didn't have much of the possession too. Liverpool, so I think probably he was tired, considering that Liverpool were having to do a lot of defensive duties for both legs of those games.
it was interesting. Be interesting because I think a lot of quotes have come out since the final. Like Van Dijk's come out and said a couple of things about his contract, and Salah's gone a bit quiet again. Trent, we know he's already. When I watched Trent play before he got injured,
Yeah.
in the PSG game, I could tell. I've been saying it for weeks. His head's not even in Merseyside anymore. He's
It's humble. You can absolutely tell. I mean, it's visible. It's visibly visible. Do you know? I'll say this for you. This week was probably the first time I probably is leaning towards all three of them going.
I know.
Before I used to say one, maybe two will stay. I think
Mm,
potentially all three could go
I
after
think so now.
the comments, after even just the body language of the
Mm.
players. I think all three could go.
I noticed that on Sunday. I noticed there was obviously you lost the final, so you're not going to be jumping for joy. But I just even during the game, even Van Dijk, I think
Was it
Kojo
Van
just said
Dijk?
it in the comments there as well. Like he got spun around at one point. He just looked exposed. He looked
Yeah.
so exposed. And I think is that like I'm not saying he's a bad defender at all, but and it can happen to any defender, but he just didn't look like the Van Dijk that we know. Um,
And I'll tell you why I thought they could leave, because Van Dijk's probably looking, yes, they'll probably win a Premier League, but then he's
mm,
probably looking, well, long term, this club hasn't really invested in the way they do. So he's probably thinking, I'm still at the top of my game, and I would like to win more than just 2 Premier League titles and a Champions League, 1 FA Cup, and 1 League Cup.
yeah, it's
He's
not
probably
enough.
thinking, yeah, it's not enough. He's probably thinking, will Liverpool support my ambitions to
Mm,
win those things? So I think that's probably after the way they went out to PSG and after the loss in the final. That's probably in his mind now, thinking, can this
mm,
club really push on to
yeah,
win things, match my ambition?
yeah. I agree. I agree. It is the first time. I know Trent's going. I think that's a given. But Salah's one of the ones that I've always thought he might sign. I thought Van Dijk would be a. I said it in the group chat the other day. I think he's going to be signing, or he's signed already. But I'm not sure. I'm really not sure anymore. I don't know. And that's a good point as well. Kojo's put there. Someone
Mm,
said because he was fasting in terms of Mo Salah, as if
yeah,
Dembele wasn't fasting yet, flew to his ends and slapped him up midweek. So I mean, no, like I'm speaking from a person who's never fasted, but I can only imagine it impacts people in a different way.
yeah,
But I mean, even before Ramadan, Salah's not been performing, so he's not been the Salah that we've known, and
yeah.
other players are able to kind of deal with that in their own different way. But every player is different, so I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about that one?
It does. I mean, I've heard like it does affect players, and
Yeah.
I don't know how these players actually, because obviously I've heard it from Muslim players who have been fasting, and they've talked about the experience and the impact it's had on them.
Mm,
I don't know. I don't know if it can be an excuse
mm,
for this, because obviously players, even though it's an impact, and players do have ways where they can manage their schedule and where they can manage those responsibilities with preparing for games.
yeah.
Um, and I don't like the fact that we only use it when results don't go their way. I mean, if
Exactly.
results went their way, you wouldn't hear anything. So
Exactly.
I generally wouldn't use an excuse, 'cause I'm like, well, they've been doing it professionally. They've been managing this situation for all their professional lives, and we haven't brought it up every year. It's only when the results don't go their way we bring it up.
True.
So I personally wouldn't use it as an excuse.
True. No, I agree. I agree with that. Um, let's move on
Mm.
because we've got to talk about Spurs. Did you see that? Did you see the aftermath of the game where was it Matisse Tell had to go over to the
Yeah,
fans and
it's
Matisse
funny.
Tell?
I saw a tweet saying they signed him. They paid the 10 million people to be a fans liaison officer.
Oh, I can't believe it. The man that's been here for what? No more than 60 days. He's having to go over and talk to the fans. Where's the Romero's and all the players that have been there for a while? Where's Son? They should be
Imagine.
going over to talk to them fans. And there was another one, like another altercation with Ange Poglakosku at the end.
Yeah,
I think
so
he was going through the tunnel. And I'm not
yeah,
I'm assuming that must be a Fulham fan, but I don't know. Um and
yeah.
they're talking
I
to him.
think it was a Tottenham fan.
Was it Tottenham?
Yeah, it was a Tottenham fan. Yeah,
And he's having an altercation with Ange Poglakowski about the game, and that's why he's got to stop doing Ange though, because you're the manager. You're not a fan. You're the manager. Just walk off. Just
exactly.
just walk off, because at the end of the day, they're filming you to get that reaction.
They are,
Like,
and the thing about Ange, you can tell the pressure against him because he's biting a lot more
even in the
to.
press.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Journalists to fans to anyone, and obviously, and some of the comments aren't even bad comments, or the
Yeah,
questions aren't even. Some of them are like basic standard questions or comments, and then he bites.
but that's why they know, because I think especially the media, they've cottoned onto it now, so they'll ask him a question in a way that they wouldn't probably ask it to like a Arnie Slot or a Enzo Maresca, but because it's him, they're going to ask it in a way that they know they're going to press a button and he's going to explode. Then it goes viral. Like,
And it's so weird because contrast it to when he first came and they were showing him so much love.
he was calm.
He
He was calm. He was blessed.
was calm. They were showing him so much love. He was like the media darling.
Yeah,
People don't realize
yeah.
about English journalism.
They'll throw you
Change
under that bus quicker than anything. I'm telling you, like they don't care. As long as they get their clicks and views, they'll do what they got to do. Use and abuse. Are Spurs in trouble? Because I mean, we kind of spoke about them before, but they're 14th in the league, so they're obviously not going to get relegated. But and they still have the Europa League to look forward to potentially. But there's a lot of Spurs fans that even if they win the Europa League, they're still calling for Ange imposter Koglu to leave.
They're in trouble, and what I mean by that, I mean they're in trouble for the next few years. I think
Mm,
because they haven't refreshed that squad properly. That's the
yeah,
thing. This season, I mean, this season they can finish anyway. They can finish 15th. They can finish 17th. They can finish, yeah, they can finish between 15th and 17th this season, because they're that bad. They could. I think the worst they've operated in a season is having 19 losses.
yeah,
They could potentially break that this season potentially because they're already on 15 losses, and I can still see Tottenham losing another 5 games for the
yeah,
remainder of the season. I think the issue you have is, like I said, they haven't refreshed the squad properly. I mean, he's on his last legs.
yeah,
And like I said, we talked about Salah aging overnight. Son has aged this season. He does
yeah.
not look the same Son. Johnson is just not good enough. Solanke hasn't found his feet. I
Mm.
doubt Matthew's Tell returns after this loan has ended, to be honest.
I think he
Because I
doesn't want
think
to go back to Tottenham after that game.
100%. He looks here and say, "This is a mess. This
Yeah,
team is a mess. The fan base is a mess."
but we we said we
100%.
said when he signed, though, it was a bit of a mad place to go to. Like of
It
all the
was
clubs that wanted them, he went to Tottenham.
Tottenham. Crazy, crazy. Yes, obviously, and then obviously, like I said, Bergvall, I like him. He's still finding
Mm,
his feet.
yeah.
What's the
Obviously,
word
Destiny and a doggy when he comes back. Spence
when it
is
comes
there,
down?
like
What's,
Spence.
what's the Uruguayan that they have? I've forgotten his name.
Who?
The Uruguayan midfielder they have, who's always been injured. I've forgotten his name. They have a Uruguayan who's always injured. He's so inconsistent that he's not finding his feet. Defensively, they're all over the place. They don't really have a stable defense. I fear for Tottenham. I don't
Mm,
know, fairness, I wouldn't say that. I fear for Tottenham in terms of them challenging over the next few years for a top four place. I
mm.
think they could. I think they can always challenge to be a top 10 team because they still have players who are better than the position that they're in. But I fear for them. Yeah, Bentancur. That was it. Bentancur hasn't found his hasn't
I forgot
regularly been.
about him.
Yeah, because exactly there you go. So the things that I really really do fear for Tottenham in terms of challenging again for top four places, I think you could see them
Mm.
being out of the top four places for the next maybe 4 or 5 years. It could be reminiscent of Liverpool, the period Liverpool were challenging for a top four place,
What, the
and
Roy
even
Hodgson years?
exactly, or the period Arsenal weren't challenging for a top four
Yeah, yeah.
place. So I think it could be reminiscent of that. So they're in danger, Tottenham, same as Manchester United. I think both clubs are in that danger zone where
Mm.
it
I
could be a
don't. I,
downward
th-
slide.
I think United will be a bit better though, because I feel like they will back Amarin properly. I
Mm,
think in the summer, whereas I
yeah,
can't see Daniel Levy doing that. For even if it's not Ange, if they bring in
yeah,
another
actually right.
manager,
Yeah,
they're not going to
actually
back
right.
him.
Yeah, actually right. And it's hard because I know the fans want to be ambitious, and obviously you can't blame fans wanting to be ambitious when they've kind of been there or thereabouts of nearly doing something.
Mm,
So you can't. So obviously it gives the fans hope. But I've never understood how Levi still to this day is operating the way he's operating. I know it's great to kind of financially run a club very well, but at the same time you want to be ambitious, and I question what you're doing in football if you do not have an ambition to win. It's pointless. And the reason why I say this is because there's many other ways as a businessman for you to make and generate money. So I've
mm.
never understood people come into football just looking to generate money. There should be an interest of winning things and an entertainment value that should come with it. So I, for the life of me, can't understand what Daniel Levi is still doing at Tottenham, or what he's hoping to achieve at Tottenham Football Club, because it's crazy. Even if you want to earn your money, okay, Tottenham are earning money, but at some point, turn that into ambition. Try and do something different. Try and win things.
Do you reckon it's because though that financially they're doing that well that you take it, not me or us, but you take it out of the ball a little bit, and it's almost like we're churning in the money. We've got a good stadium. We can use it for NFL and all the rest of it, concerts.
Yeah.
So from his perspective, a bit like the Chelsea owners, things are
Mm.
things are all right. Things are great, but because he's not too concerned about winning, it's not like Spurs have been this dominant team, in the early 90s or the early 2000s. Suddenly they've had a dip. I don't think they've really had Like they've never
But
had that from an ownership mentality. They've never had that like winners mentality, lifting the Premier League. They've never had that. So it's almost like
it's been,
they're not missing what they don't know, if that makes sense.
do you know what? You are right. Maybe you're not missing what you don't know, and you're actually right because when you look at United, Liverpool, Arsenal, even Chelsea, you're
They've
right.
all
Because
had them periods.
because it's all one things. When they go through that period where it's not going well, the
You want
fans
it
shine.
back.
Everyone shines, and they want it back because they
Mm,
know the standards they're used to. They know where they should be. And
mm.
you're probably right because Tottenham haven't been there. You're right. They're probably not missing something that they've never had. So it's like, well,
Mm.
we don't have a history of winning things.
The
So
fans want it though. Like the fans want it, but
which I
that's
understand because
you're
they've
a fan.
elevated them to a point where it's like we're almost there, and then
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a drop off. Then a few
yeah,
years later, they're back to kind of, oh, we can almost win something. So
yeah,
I can understand why the fans would be because they've given the fans hope
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they've crushed the hopes. So I can understand why the fans would want more. But you're actually, you know what? I never considered that. You're probably right. He's
Mm.
probably looking at that. Well, we don't have a history of winning things. Why should I jeopardize the finances I can gain for the sake of potentially winning something which I may never win anyway? I'd rather go for the safe bet of making money and
100%.
trying to win things in the most cheapest ways or the most
Exactly.
unambitious ways that I can do.
Exactly. And I'll tell you for this as well. The only time they would have ever had an opportunity to win something major, I'm not saying with the
Mm.
current squad that he had at the time, but if they allowed him to stay there a bit longer, was Jose Mourinho or Conte,
Yeah.
sorry, as well.
Oh, do you know what? I completely forgot they had Conte. That's actually
Yeah, yeah,
wild.
yeah. So
They
those
had
two,
just Mourinho and Conte, and
remember, I think both of them have won something everywhere they've been, every
everywhere they
single
went, yeah,
club, apart from Tottenham. So
crazy. Yeah,
that
you're right. You
that
see,
tells
you're
you
right.
that even if you bring in one of the best man or deemed as one of the best managers, it doesn't mean anything because the way
But
that
the
the
thing
club's
is,
being run.
you have to match the ambition. Every manager that goes to a club, big manager goes to a club, the board and everyone else have to match their ambition, otherwise it's not going to work. Same as Pep Guardiola, when he was going to City, they were doing all the prep work to make
Yeah,
sure that when he comes, the environment is right for him to succeed in
yeah,
terms of people upstairs they were hiring, then obviously some of the playing staff that were starting to bring in preparation for Pep. And it's like you can't bring in a Jose Mourinho and a Conte and not match the ambition and the level we're expecting
yeah.
and expect things to work out. It's not going to work. It's not going to work out.
Mm. Interesting times, interesting times. I would put money on Spurs. Potentially, this is going to be a wild take, but I can see them getting relegated in the next five. No, I'm being serious. Next 5 to 10 years, out of those kind of big clubs, like the top
Yeah,
six or whatever you want to call it, the first club I think will go is Tottenham.
yeah. I'll finish on this final point. It could have happened this season if the bottom three
Weren't as
weren't
bad.
as bad. Because I remember saying to Kojo, it's like if we had some of the other teams, bottom three teams we've had in previous seasons,
Mhm.
Tottenham will be fighting there because some of those teams were a lot better and gathering a lot more points than what we're seeing with bottom three. We're only lucky that this bottom three are just atrocious. that
No, that's
they're
true.
not-
That is true, and that segues lovely into the last bit of the podcast. But I was asking you before, I mean, yeah, you called it right as well, Southampton, but I was talking more so about Leicester, just because of the run of games that they've been on since Ruvan Nistelrooy had been appointed at Leicester, and
yeah.
I think they've got one win in, I'm gonna say like 13 games. Again, I might have got that number wrong, but they've won
That's probably
once,
it's probably
one
the only
game.
one. Yeah.
Um, but Southampton, I forgot about them. I think 'cause I see Southampton down and out.
Because they're there, you get there, you're like, oh, they're a given.
You just
you
bypass them. It's like a table of 19 teams.
don't concern yourself with him.
They're just like the nobodies at the bottom. But they're on 9 points. 9 points. Um,
What's the
I feel like
record? 11 points.
I feel
Derby.
like Derby was 11.
Yeah, Derby was 11 points.
Derby was 11. I'm trying to think of the year. I'm trying to see if I can find the year.
It must
Was
have
it
been
was it 2007, 2008?
it was either 2006, 2007, or 2007, 2008. It was one of those years.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was either or one of those years. But is this Southampton team and Leicester, albeit not on the same point tally level, but are they as bad as that team? Is that the worst team? Is that the benchmark for the worst team that Derby
They're as
season?
bad. No, they're as bad as that Derby team. And that Derby team was honestly horrific to
Um,
watch. They were everyone's whipping boys. Southampton are close to that. Because it doesn't matter who Southampton play, I never ever think to myself, Southampton are even at a minimum going to get a point. At
Yeah.
a minimum, going to get a point. They're so bad. Leicester are different because Leicester haven't been winning games. But if you watch Leicester, they're surprisingly competitive. What they do lack
Mm.
is just I'll say at periods of the game, I'll say they're surprisingly competitive. They just don't have that cutting edge in that final third. Yeah,
Ah,
because
okay.
they're 13.
And the
Oh
win
yeah,
the win
against
was
Spurs.
against Spurs.
There you go.
It says
There you
everything.
go. There you go. But that's been Leicester have been surprisingly competitive. So the results are bad, but the
Mm.
performances haven't been as bad, which is why I don't think Leicester is as bad as as that Derby team. Southampton, on the other hand, are as bad as that Derby team. You could even argue they're worse than that Derby team.
Mm.
They cannot defend to save their life. They cannot. They don't work together as a unit. Those players, they're just bad. They're
Mm.
just bad. I have no words as to just how bad both teams are. Or I'll say definitely more Southampton, but Leicester and Ruud van Nistelrooy, oof, this record.
I know, I know. It's I feel like what was the Southampton manager's name? He was on Monday Night
uh,
Football. Not
Russell.
Robert, Russell Martin.
Yeah, Russell Martin, that's it,
Russell
yeah.
Martin, yeah. So I feel like had he not been in charge at the start of the season, I'm not saying they wouldn't have gone down or they wouldn't have been relegated, but I don't think they'd be as like he's the way he set them up that when he was
Yeah,
in the Premier. Like you almost knew it was 3 points before 3 p.m. kickoff. Like you just knew you were getting the 3 points. So I think had they not had him in charge, I don't think they'd be that bad in terms of their league position, but they would
I
be
agree.
still down there.
I agree with you because what happened is sometimes you need to pivot and change.
Yeah,
And for so long, it was the same thing, same mistakes, same bad defensive mistakes that we were seeing week in, week out. And there was no change from that.
yeah,
And they lost so many points in so many games because of that. And ultimately, yeah, if they'd got rid of him a lot earlier, maybe they could have pivoted. Like I said, I still think they would have gone down anyway, but
yeah.
they wouldn't have lost as many points as they did in that early part of the season. Because
Mm,
9 points at this point is disgraceful. It's the equivalent of 3 wins.
yeah. It's a good point. It is a
I
good
don't
point.
even I don't even think they've even had 3 wins this season in the league.
I don't think they have. I'm just looking at so this is the Derby transfer window for 2007. I think this is the season they brought Robert Earnshaw for 3.5 million.
I forgot about him. Yeah.
Claude Davis, I think he was a defender, wasn't he? Davis, sure.
Yeah.
Sheffield United 3 million. Kenny Miller 2.25 million. Celtic. They got some couple of free transfers in as well, but then
Yeah.
they obviously had the January winter window where they brought in Danny Mills.
Oh wow.
Robbie Savage,
I remember him there.
Alan Stubbs from Everton, Roy Carroll from Rangers, and
Oh,
Hossam
yeah.
Ghali. I don't even remember from Tottenham from on loan. Oh, and Lauren Robert as well on a free transfer.
Oh wow, I forgot they had Robert. Damn.
Yeah, yeah. So they
They tried to scam their way by getting experienced players.
and it still never worked. It still never saved them. Crazy. Kojo's
Yeah,
put in
but I agree with Kojo there. In
yeah,
terms of promoted clubs should never ever try playing build up from the back.
yeah,
If you
100%.
don't
I think I've lost you there. One sec. Oh, I think I've lost Basil. Basil's making a very good point there as well. We lost them. But let's see if we can get him back in. But no, he was gonna make a good point. You can't here he is. You can't build out from the back without the experience. So I think I lost you.
Yeah, I'm back now.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was laughing at the comment. I was saying I agree with Kojo in terms of these promoted teams should not be attempting to play it from the back unless you
Mm,
have the minerals to do so. They're
mm,
trying to force something which isn't them. And even if you do attempt it, because obviously maybe you may have been deploying it from when you were in the championship.
yeah,
Quickly understand your levels. If in the first 3 or 4 games it's not working and it's costing you, then I think you should stop and pivot and try something different because it
yeah,
ends up harming you more than it does doing you good. And Southampton, we've seen it with Southampton, we saw it with Luton, we've seen it with Ipswich this season. You just lose more points.
yeah,
And there's no point wasting time because maybe they think, oh, it'll come as the season goes. You don't have the luxury of time that it may. of time that it may work as the season goes, because you're a promoted team. You don't have the experience that other teams have in the Premier League. Other teams can stick at it and then work their way through. Like you seen Bournemouth when Areola came, they were trying something. It wasn't working. Obviously, the results weren't coming. But because it's Bournemouth and they're an established team, it will come after a while. They have better quality. We've seen it with many teams where it's not always working at first, but then obviously as time goes by, they can do it because they're an established team with a lot better quality. When you're a promoted team, stop it. Absolutely stop it.
Yeah. It's a good point. It's a good point. I think there's a lot of teams that need to stop it, not even just the promoted ones. Sometimes I look at Sanchez. I know that, again, going back to Chelsea, I know that he can't play out from the back. He's not comfortable. He's always under pressure. It doesn't look good for him. So for some teams, it's a case of just hoofing the ball up. You just have to hoof the ball and hope for the best, or you have to have the centre backs that you can trust, in them, that they're going to be able to work with you, to work the ball out the back. If you can't trust your centre backs, or your centre backs can't trust your goalkeeper, then it doesn't mean anything. It's pointless doing that. So I agree with that point 100%, that not everyone needs to play out from the back. And I know that's the style of football that everybody wants to go with now, but sometimes you just got to long ball it. Look for your striker at the other end of the pitch, because I noticed again on Sunday in the Arsenal game that every time, I think even the crowd are doing it. That's what made me remember it. The crowd are going, oh, hey, every time Sanchez had the ball, because they knew he was going to make a mistake. You can't play out from the back, man. If you're not good with your feet, stay away from playing out from the back. That's what I say.
No, I agree. You need to understand what you have at your disposal to make those decisions. And if you don't, then stop attempting it.
100%.
Like sometimes wait until you have the players to kind of adapt to that and then make those changes.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. But Basil, thank you. It's always a pleasure. We've got this one out of the way. I'm glad we got the Arsenal game out of the way, because I've been trying to avoid that conversation for a while. But no, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everyone that's joined on the live. Kojo, see you there as well. Have to get you back on when you're back to 100%. The one time United win and Kojo's not even on the pod, crazy. But
I know.
yeah, mental. But if you're new, as I said before, subscribe, like the video. Don't forget to let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. And we'll be back very soon with another episode. Thanks very much for watching.